I'm Frank Neumann. I'm responsible for technology development and international project development at Seaweed Energy Solutions, based in Trondheim, Norway. We are a relatively young company focusing on cultivating brown seaweeds, kelps, and we have just built a quite large pilot farm, and our target is now to make seaweed for food a commercial case during this year and the next years. The proposal within Maribe is has resulted from an invitation from the Danish company Wave Dragon. They're making a relatively large wave energy device, and they invited us to participate in the vision of a joint installation of Wave Dragon farms with seaweed cultivation. I found this very interesting because unlike other wave energy devices, Wave Dragon is a very big floating platform, and as such can provide us some sheltered space. So there is two components that we like about this specific combination. One is we can increase our operational days in relatively rough wave climates or sea conditions. And the other one is we can actually use the energy to lower our farms in extreme events, which is a combination that can make seaweed farms more realistic in further, more exposed areas, which is a very important point in the near future because concession space will run out very soon. The main argument for combining wave farms with aquaculture, or with seaweed farms in particular, is to share some of the naval means, some of the maintenance capacities, but mainly to enable the aquaculture farm, the seaweed farm in this case, to be lowered in extreme sea states. That, in my opinion, is the biggest argument for us to look into this, because seaweed farms are much more space intensive than fish farms if you look at the money generated per square kilometer or per hectare. And so we need to be aware that preferential sites, locations for sites, will run out pretty soon when the industry starts to have a serious dimension. So going further offshore is a very important part of solving this solution, and submerging parts of the farm or the farm entirely in extreme seas is a quite realistic way to get there. Yeah, regarding the challenges, I would say there is some need for technical proof. It is, if we talk about the technology readiness levels, we are not very far there in this extent. There has to be some development work done for the actual submerging. It has to be proven in the sea. That is always not easy as soon as we have some dimension. So challenges are technical, but also, of course, regulatory. Will it be easier or more difficult to get concessions for combined farms? Will it be straightforward to separate the players' responsibility, or does it have to be one company doing wave energy, then subcontracting parts of the farm for seaweed, or the other way around? We are not so sure about that yet. But I think the main challenges are technical and technico-economic viability, really. It is a very good time to look into this right now, because there is a strong drive and a strong understanding politically and societal that we have to use more efficiently the resources of the sea. And that is translated directly in the European research and development programs. And I think FAO is also pushing for it at the moment. So for companies, of course, this is the time to start looking into this and to get a head start, to take this opportunity and to be one of the first being able to offer such a combined solution. The timing for this type of project is very good at the moment because there's a lot of political drive and conscience on both political and societal level that we have to make much more efficient use of the resources of the sea. And this is directly translated into the Horizon 2020, into the European research and development funding projects. And also FIO is pushing for this. So for a company like us, it's extremely opportune now to take advantage of this situation and to try to be one of the first movers to offer such a new solution and to be ahead of the competition. To an extent that we learned from other projects' experience, I couldn't say so because I think all of these projects we're discussing here are at a very early stage, so they are conceptual projects. Plus, most of them are confidential. So for me personally, it would have been very beneficial to assist other advisory sessions, but time pressure and the complex confidentiality issues have not allowed so, but I think that is perfectly understandable. But just looking at the public presentation of the combinations, it is interesting to have a look what else is being considered and by whom and under which circumstances and in which geographic regions, because you might even look into a combination of more than 2 different uses. That is perfectly possible. I think there is still a lot of discussion and networking to be done. And I think that we are learning a lot with that. But I think technically, each solution or each combination in the Maribe project, the way that the projects are presented now, are quite well fenced and well distinguished. So I think there hasn't been a direct technical learning yet, but I think that will happen at a later stage. We haven't really brought in knowledge at this stage, but as I said before, there will be very likely interchange of information and important mutual learning from each other's project. I think at this stage, in our concrete case, it wasn't necessary to be very innovative from our side because we have been invited by Wave Dragon, by the Wave Energy company, to take part in this challenge. And the main innovative part is the technical solution that has to be implemented to submerge, to use the wave energy to submerge the farm. So no, I wouldn't say that we have already brought into that external inspirations, let's say, from other projects, but I do expect from these 2 days, and I see it is going on already, that there is mutual inspiration and there is a lot of interesting discussions that will benefit each other. At this stage of development, it was not necessary to build multidisciplinary teams for our specific case, also because I have myself the background in wave energy and in seaweed cultivation both, so there was not so much the need of additional competence, but also the level of technical detail required in this phase is not so high. So we were mainly assisted by Maribe with the financial and formatting required, and we were feeding in and correcting and or suggesting additional inputs. It was not so time intensive as such. It was just the last weeks, as usual, that are quite hectic. But I think at a conceptual level, at that we have worked on this project up to now. It was not a major challenge for human resources, but it will be if the project goes to a pilot phase. However, I don't think it will be much more than as if it was two different projects. So that, I think, is rather the opposite, that you can join some engineering and some logistic challenges and even use less people than you would for two separate projects. The end users are a good question here, because in our case, the combination of seaweed farms and utility scale wave energy is probably aiming at two different end users. Plus, end user is often the consumer. In our case, we are not looking at the consumer as end user. We are looking at utilities for the wave energy, most likely, and we are looking at either ourselves or a sister company or a downstream processing company for making value out of the seaweed. That is two totally different product streams. So there, the combinations and the synergies are, I don't think they are really very strong on that level. So I do not believe that the end user is a critical part here for selling this combination, unless the end user is an investor who wants to have a combined, who wants to optimize his investment or their investment. In our case, the combination is interesting because we can produce our product in an area of the sea that otherwise would not be possible or economically not very interesting for us. So I think in our specific combination, that can be different in other combinations discussed in Maribe, but in our specific combination, seaweed and wave energy, the end user or selling to the end user is not so much of an issue, I would say. Yeah, Maribe has been a very interesting approach for me, because the project has a different approach from what I have been used to so far. Normally, this type of combination is included in some research projects, and people make their minds up what they want to work on, and then they just spend 2 years and a lot of money to develop certain concepts. But here, the approach has been different. It has been bringing people together at an early stage and exchange ideas. And actually, especially this event, I think, is very helpful to find out where are the good and the maybe less good arguments of your specific combination before you put a lot of time and work into it. So I think Maribe has been very useful on that level, that we have been somehow assisted to create a set of information, a set of data comparable to other combination projects in a similar format. So it will be much easier to judge how do we look like on a common comparison basis to other projects. What are the chances to turn this combination real? Yes, although we are still in the middle of the event, I can already say that it's been very beneficial to have the opportunity to have some B2B sessions with potential investors, with potential partners, technical partners. So it's exactly this type of event that I think is important in an early phase to see what people that have some interest in what you're doing think about this combination. So yes, I would definitely say so. It has opened up opportunities for this combination, yeah, for this project. Yeah, the advisory session is a very important part to really check your project on weak points and to allow specialists in adjacent and other areas, especially the financial area, to have a proper look at what you're up to and what you're planning. Because without that input, it would be very risky to start. And I think for the projects, it's a free yeah, it's a free advisory session, as the name says. So it is a very beneficial detail, really. Yes. Thanks. No, thanks for inviting me. I'm quite happy to be here. Actually, I really think that Maribe has taken a very, very smart approach in bringing people together at an early conceptual stage and letting them pitch their project in front of some financial and adjacent technology specialist, because you can avoid a lot of purely paper research being done by that means. You can avoid projects to be financed that don't really make sense in the end. And that, I think, is ultimately for the community is really the best value of this type of event. So that is something I would like to